NSFW. What is the most disrespectful thing someone did in your house? Gave MDMA to our hamster during a party. She survived but we were pissed. Was she any different afterward? Poor thing. Poor Hammy, so glad she was okay. Someone did this to my rats but with whiskey or vodka, I don't remember exactly. I came home to my rats in a drunken stupor. My rats both made it out okay with no ill effects, but they were wasted. I had to drop everything and nurse them back to sobriety, and it was not cute or funny. They could have died very easily. I chewed everyone involved out the second I walked in and don't associate with any single one of those people anymore. A girl I knew was keeping an eye on my cats and feeding the two fish while my girlfriend and I were on vacation. Before we left, we filled up the cat's large water bowl. It's the kind that has a reservoir, so we really only need to refill it about once a week, and we fully cleaned both of the fish tanks. When we got home, the cat's water bowl was completely dry and knocked over on the floor. Both fish tanks were filled with food. My better tank had a battery pack in it and he later died. She came in the door with another girl. They had been at our apartment pool, while we were standing there in disbelief. Still gets me fired up every once in a while. I was going to pay her but absolutely not after that long. I'm house sitting for friends, and my anxiety tells me, what if you fuck it up and they get mad? But then I read this shit and realize I'm fine lamau. Wait, what? How the fuck do you fuck up that bad? Left piss jugs in the closet. Fuck you, Nathan. My friend just had a house guest leave 91 piss jugs behind. We're all still literally in shock. The bathroom was just 8 feet away. Roommate's friend brought her dog over for the weekend while she stayed with us. She said it was her emotional support animal. Dog took a dump in my room and the friend refused to clean it up. Needless to say, I informed my roommate she was not welcomed back. You let her stay after you had to clean up her dog's shit? I don't care what I promised. You don't clean up after your dog, you're out. Right after I clean it up myself. Well, I'm not doing that ever again. It was nice having you, but you need to leave. Now. Me and 2 of my brothers were hanging out drinking at my house when I was around 18. I went to bed and they stayed up. When I got up the next day, my one friend told me to throw away one of my drumsticks. Found out a few days later that they blew each other and one of them shoved the drumstick up his ass. They both had girlfriends at the time. Bro, WTF. You know they double-ended it. My wife tended to a tomato plant. One single tomato plant. For weeks to get one bug. She cultivated it, pruned it, watered it, everything. Just as it was getting to be picked, we had movers there and one ate it. Actually, he ate half and threw away the second half. 20 years later, I'd still think that my wife will kill that man if she saw him today. This happened to my sister and I when we were little. My parents had a huge yard that was very well kept along with a large fish pond. One day after school there was a knock on the door and my sister and I were home alone. Obviously we hid and peeked out the windows instead of answering the door. We watched 2 little lonely ladies wander into our strawberry patch that we had been taking care of and pick the one strawberry that had another day or so left until it would have been perfectly ripe. My little sister had been waiting so long for that strawberry she grew. We watched these women walk through the entire yard and spend about 20 minutes just sitting and chatting on our furniture overlooking the pond like they owned the place. People are absolutely unbelievable. She should. 6th grade, 1992-ish. A friend of mine had to take a shit and I guess there wasn't enough toilet paper left on the roll. He decided to wipe his ass on our bath towels and stuff it behind the sink. Never hung out with him again. My mom from then on would refer to him as Shitty. Never hung out with him again. My mom from then on would refer to him as Shitty. So that's how Shitty Bill got his name. It's at this point I want to highlight the Tinder boo date story. Was not my house, but come on. This is excellent. Tinder poo date. Okay, edit. Woman trapped in window trying to retrieve a poo she threw out of the window. Fire brigade was called. The poo got stuck between layers of glass. Her date called the emergency services. Friend of a friend of a friend stayed at my place and helped me build a fence over a few days. Then on the last night he took a bunch of acid and things took a weird turn. He cycled between threatening to attack me and trying to jerk off in front of me and my wife. Nice fence, but I would be hesitant to recommend them to a friend. I read this as a Yelp review. Yo, the fence is up, you gonna see me jerk off or what? Years ago, a kid in school used to host parties all the time as his parents were always away on weekends. Was great, being 16, always having somewhere to go and get shit-faced until someone took a shit in his kettle and we were never invited back. Apparently shit, when boiled, creates loads of nasty shitty foam that escapes the kettle, takes over the kitchen and leaves a stink for weeks. There are other kettle shitters in the world. I knew one in my early 20s in Michigan. Wouldn't happen to be a shorter, slightly balding guy who would currently be in his mid-30s, would it? I had a party in college that ended up having the local U21 professional hockey team show up, like probably around 10 of them, which is fine. They were fucking turds breaking stuff and being assholes. Walked up to one and he said, "Are you enjoying my party?" And instead of confronting him I just called the cops on my own party because they were the only ones under 21. I invited a good high school friend and my boyfriend at the time to Hanukkah dinner with my family. The boyfriend was fine, but the friend was acting like my parents were our age and started doing stupid shit like deep-throating bananas and alluding to choking on a cock and throwing up. My parents kept politely asking him to tone it down, but he wouldn't. Eventually my dad lost his shit and yelled "Stop it!" and told him to get the fuck out. I have never cringed harder in my entire life. This is like the last thing you do at Hanukkah dinner. God, why have I had more than one friend who doesn't know how to tone it down around the folks? I always thought it was sort of a given. A friend and his girlfriend came over for a few drinks and to just hang out. She went into the bathroom almost as soon as she got there and stayed in there for over an hour. I only had one bathroom at the time, so this was a big inconvenience for a bunch of drinking dudes. When she finally came out, we found that she had scavenged all the loose change laying around and had been smoking what we later found out was crack. When I told my friend what happened, he was super embarrassed and left with her immediately. We later found some of her crack wrapped in a foil gum wrapper and tossed it. My friend said she had forgot something and threw a fit when he wouldn't bring her back to get it. How much loose change do you have in your bathroom? Stole my upstairs toilet. Pricks. Never having a party again. Seems like they got their shit together. We need the story. A friend of mine told me this story. A guy he invited into his house, I guess a friend, was laughing at him for taking care of his grandma, and because he couldn't afford a nursing home for her. Fuck that dude, and my homies hate him too. Who laughs at someone for compassion and that sort of sacrifice? Bruh. A friend was over with her husband and their 2 young children. They were here to meet my new baby. Their kids both were running and wrestling in the living room, and they knocked my drink off of my end table all over and onto the magazines I had below it. I asked her if I could get her a towel and she says to me, "They already know they're grounded when they get home. They don't clean up there, either." I cleaned her own damn kid's mess in my own house. She wasn't kidding about them destroying their own house. Up high as they could reach was a band of crayon scribbles all along the rooms in every single room in that house. My friends brought their 5-year-old over for brunch. I'd offered some cinnamon toast, but she wanted quiche. She jammed her face completely full of quiche, slid off her chair, crossed my dining room, went through my kitchen, around the sofa into the living room and spit chewed up quiche all over my tan couch. She didn't like the taste. The reaction she got was, "Sweetie, do you not like it?" And then they fucking asked me to make her cinnamon toast. I had to do the same thing with my neighbor's kids. Not even remotely friends, and had just moved into the neighborhood, so I had to be nice and not acknowledge that the kids had tracked mud onto our $500 living room rug. They were just stomping around like it was a-okay, and she did not notice once that they did it. I imagine if that is how her kids act in a stranger's house, what does it look like inside a house? If it looks anything like their yard, it is really bad. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.